Next, will you please lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, council is grateful to have Pastor Eli Seitz of Trinity Evangelical Lutheran Church to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to council.
Thank you to President Hardin and to all of City Council for inviting me to be here tonight. Let us pray. Loving God, you have gathered us together across all human divisions and reconciled us to one another and to you. Send your Holy Spirit upon each of us here tonight, that our words, plans, and actions may be rooted in your love for all of creation. Guide us, that we may discern your will and work together in love for the common good of all who call Columbus home. We pray all this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans, Green, Remy, Weich, President Hardin. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting. Pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12, any person who enters those areas of City Council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans, Green, Remy, Weich, President Hardin.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communication received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go around the dais with updates and resolutions. I'm going to start with Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to start off by acknowledging that today there is a national effort called A Day Without Immigrants, and it is an effort to illustrate the impact that immigrants have on our communities around the country. So today, you might have noticed that your favorite small business or large business was closed, and it was likely for this reason. I want to thank and acknowledge our community that has stood firm in their advocacy and for the many folks who stand in solidarity with the efforts today. I also want to acknowledge folks like myself, for whatever reason, could not miss work, but they too stand in solidarity with the community. Folks today chose not to send their children to school, chose not to put money into the economy, chose not to show up for that shift. And I want to remind people that this is how democracy works, that it is always before the people that change happens. So I want to thank our Columbus community for their advocacy today. I also want to encourage folks that if you too want to stand in solidarity with these businesses, that tomorrow you should go and probably spend a little bit to recoup the losses that they might have experienced today. On that note, I also want to share that today the applications for the Commission on Immigrant and Refugee Affairs are live. So please visit columbus.gov/IRA Commission. The applications will be open through Sunday, February 16th. On that note, if you have thoughts or feelings, I just want to remind everybody that my name is Lourdes Barroso de Padilla, and no email will be returned if you refer to me than anything but that. And also remember your mother's golden rule, be polite and nice. That's the best way to get your ideas across. We have a long agenda this evening, and I wanted to be sure that we had an opportunity to highlight an ordinance related to the Capitol Line in the Public Service and Transportation Committee. The Capitol Line project is the construction of a 2-mile pathway along Gay, 4th, and Rich Streets across Broad and Town Street bridges to the Scioto Peninsula. This pathway, exclusive to bike and pedestrian traffic, offers an intentional route to city attractions connecting amenities, greenscapes, job centers, and residential neighborhoods while catalyzing new economic investment along the path. This is in line with our Vision Zero initiatives and Bike Plus. And so I'm excited to invite Amy Taylor, the president of the Downtown Columbus, Inc., to speak a little bit about the Capitol Line. She would have done this later on in the ordinance, but I wanted to ensure that while we have prime time viewership, folks are informed about the Capitol line. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, President Hardin, Council Committee Chair Brosade Padilla, members of council. I'm Amy Taylor with the Downtown Columbus, Inc., and I'm so thrilled, honestly, to be up here to talk about such an important project. It is rare to be part of a community in which the public sector just really doubles down on the public realm. They understand that that space is for everyone, and it's a great equalizer. We often say that downtown is everybody's neighborhood, and all you have to do is see the city investments to believe that. Go to the Scioto Mile Fountain, go to Columbus Commons, go to the riverfront, and you will see a cross-section of our community. So I like to say the Capitol line is the natural heir apparent to these amazing public-private partnerships that this city has done in the past in its partnership with the Downtown Columbus, Inc. We are privileged to be able to work with your absolutely top-notch Department of Public Service. We are working hand in hand on the Capitol line since Mayor Ginther and Jeff Edwards announced it in February of 2024. We got right to work with our city partners. We're in the middle of design, as you can imagine, going down Gay Street, a 100-year-old street. There are some exciting things that we're looking to do, things like vaults, things that are underground, utilities. But the fun part, how we're going to change this street, is still at the forefront of what we're all doing. And so just as a quick reminder, what's on the council agenda today is that partnership, that DCI will be partnering with the City of Columbus to go through design and construction of Phase 1 of the Capitol line. The Capitol line, as Councilmember mentioned, is a 2-mile loop around downtown, but this first phase is both its most creative and its most robust. So we'll be doing from 4th Street to Front Street on Gay Street, and we're going property line to property line. We're completely reimagining this really important road downtown. If you think about it, Gay Street is our most dense residential population, and with all the work that's being done there, it's only getting more dense. It's a place where commerce and culture really do meet. We've got a wonderful public art with Current, and we've got great new restaurants that are flourishing. And the street itself, because we didn't tear down those buildings, when you walk down it, there it's human scale. That beautiful architecture that maybe in other parts of downtown got torn down in the 60s and 70s, it remains there. So we all get to really take advantage of that. Now this reimagination of Gay Street is going to narrow the street. It's still going to be vehicular access, but it's going to be pedestrian forward. And we're going to make it a differentiator, just like the community told us. In 2022, the City of Columbus and the Downtown Columbus Inc. partnered together to do the strategic plan. And one of the #1 things that came out of it was they felt that we had jointly done a good job of creating things downtown, assets like Columbus Commons, Scioto Peninsula, the Scioto Riverfront, but we hadn't done a good job of connecting them. In fact, they said, we oftentimes come downtown to go to Columbus Commons and go to a concert, and we leave. We don't go anywhere else. Well, this is that yellow brick road that turns visitors into residents and residents into visitors. And we're gonna start with Phase 1. We're gonna have, we're in the middle of design right now. We look to begin construction on the utility work in 3rd quarter, and then construction of the road work in 4th quarter, and it's about a 12-month cycle to get the Phase 1 open. And because the city has really encouraged us to work as fast and as hard as possible, we will be designing Phase 2 as we are constructing Phase 1, so this will be a rolling use. But I like to say, you don't have to wait till it's all done to use it. When Gay Street is done, I can't wait to have that beautiful, exciting grand opening, because people will be using it just then. I really appreciate your time, but more importantly, I appreciate that I live in a community and a city that people care about downtown, that our elected officials, our mayor and our city council believe in it. And so I'd be happy to take any questions, and otherwise I hope you'll just accept our gratitude at Downtown Columbus, Inc.
Well, first, I'm not sure if there's a better proponent of downtown and all that downtown has to offer, except for maybe my partner in good. You might be the new downtown Nick Bankston, but I think especially thinking about the ground floor initiative that is making it more accessible for small businesses to come into downtown, to be in some of these open spaces. This also encourages more folks, to your point, to be here and stay here. I think that we talk about people coming downtown to play, coming downtown to work, and we forget that people also live downtown, that this is a neighborhood as well, and that we want to ensure that the things that we talk about when we talk about our amenities, these are parts of everyday life that people want. You want that coffee shop, you want that bakery, you need a home goods store, like the things that are coming into downtown. And so I want to thank you for your work. During the design phase, there is an opportunity for the public to be part of that so that they can also give voice into what the plan is, correct?
Yes, so in addition to the 2022 strategic plan of which the concept came out of, since it was announced, we've had 2 public meetings. We're there with our designers, we're there with our engineers, we're there with our city partners. We're there to take ideas, and we have continued to evolve the design throughout that. There'll be one more public meeting before we finally go to our final city department review. So yes, we will be working that. DowntownColumbus.org, you can get all the information that you want there.
Perfect. Do my colleagues have any questions? On the last thing, I will say this. I know that sometimes people are deterred by traffic, but there's an amazing CODA bus system. You can ride your bike straight up Broad Street on some protected bike lanes and come downtown, and you can move about the city freely on foot or on a bike or on your new VO scooter or a bike.
Absolutely, and I will say that the Capitol Line is going to provide that protected pedestrian and bicycle lane that you mentioned. But also, let's not forget a huge thing that the city did, turning Front and Marconi Civic Center two-way. It has been life-changing, and I think that the city continues to invest in those kind of vehicular benefits to slow down traffic and create that the reason that people aren't racing to get out of downtown.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for sharing about the Capitol Line. We're excited to get started. So thank you,
Thank you.
Amy. And with that, Council President, that is all from me this evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Day Alcar. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Vice Pro Tem? Councilmember Green?
Yes, thank you so much for Council President. First, I just have a couple of quick announcements. First, I would like to share that Friday, February 7th is National Black HIV and AIDS Awareness Day. CPH is going to be participating in an event at the Key, and we'll be doing HIV and syphilis testing with many community partners there. The event runs from 6 to 8 p.m. this Friday, and so would love for everyone to come out and socialize and learn and also get tested. Second of all, CPH is also hosting a Black History Month celebration, which is going to be this Saturday, February 8th, at the King Arts Complex from 2 to 4 p.m. The keynote speaker will be our new Franklin County prosecutor and former council member, Shayla Favor, who's the county's first woman and person of color to hold the office, and there are flyers up there and available if anyone would like additional information. And then lastly, I do have one resolution to present tonight. And as I introduce this next resolution, I'd like to welcome Sarah Lewis, Noni Banks, and then the rest of the team from the American Heart Association to the podium to speak about American Heart Month and National Wear Red Day. It is Resolution 0023X-2025 to recognize cardiovascular disease as the world's leading cause of death and to support the recognition of Friday, February 7th, 2025 as National Wear Red Day and February as American Heart Month. Each year in February, we recognize American Heart Month to join efforts around the country to promote heart health in our community. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, and it also can be prevented. It's unfortunately also the #1 killer of women and impacts some communities disproportionately. And so would like to invite the team from the American Heart Association to share a little bit more information, and also would like to thank you again so much for being here tonight. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of the American Heart Association, thank you, Councilmember Green and President Hardin, for having us today and recognizing Friday, February 7th as National Wear Red Day in the city of Columbus. Cardiovascular disease continues to be the #1 killer of women, claiming more women's lives than all forms of cancer combined. Despite this staggering statistic, less than half of all women are even aware that heart disease is their greatest health threat, making Wear Red Day and raising awareness more important than ever. For more than 2 decades, Go Red for Women has addressed the awareness and clinical care gaps of the #1 killer of women, yet inequities in research, treatment, and funding persist, and women continue to be undercounted and undersupported. But there's one source of support that women can count on: each other. When women connect with other women for information, support, motivation, and inspiration, and through awareness efforts such as this resolution, we continue to facilitate and further that support system, strengthening the power of our community to have better health outcomes for all women. Because of that, we offer our heartfelt thanks to you all. And you all look great in your red, and thank you for wearing your red dress pins as well. Now it's my honor to introduce our local heart survivor, Noni Banks, to share her story. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Green, President Harden, and the entire council for recognizing the importance of Wear Red Day and for your leadership in bringing awareness to heart health. Like so many women, I experienced early warning signs, but dismissed them. Life was busy, and I was caught up in the daily grind. As an entrepreneur, I felt a deep responsibility to the hundreds of women entrepreneurs I was serving through my company. I was committed to keeping up the hustle and grind, always pouring into others, but I wasn't prioritizing myself. When I finally sought out medical attention, I was initially misdiagnosed with asthma and given an inhaler. Even as my symptoms persisted and worsened, I was told I was likely experiencing stress, exhaustion, or something minor. When I could no longer ignore the signs of what my body was telling me, I took myself to the ER, expecting a quick diagnosis and an easy fix. I was completely shocked when the doctor told me I was in heart failure. Getting this diagnosis turned my world upside down. It was overwhelming, life-changing, and hard to wrap my mind around. But I had no choice. I had to slow down, make serious lifestyle changes, and finally start prioritizing my own health in a way I had never before. The experience also made me realize just how important it is to be your own health advocate, especially as a Black woman. The reality is Black women's symptoms are dismissed at even higher rates, and too often our pain is not taken seriously. We have to listen to our bodies, trust what we're feeling, and push for answers, even when we're told there's nothing, or we're just dealing with something minor. Our health matters, our voices matter, and we can't afford to stop speaking up for our own well-being. Thank you again for elevating this conversation. By sharing our experiences and educating our community, we can empower women to recognize the signs, advocate for ourselves, and take heart health seriously. I deeply appreciate this council for shining a light on this issue and for your commitment to health equity and awareness. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys can hang out there for one more second. Thank you so much for being here and for your partnership and for all you do in our community. I think I would also be remiss not to recognize Columbus Public Health and the work that your team over there is doing. I know to partner with the American Heart Association and also just all the incredible, everything from Walk with the Doc and then the programs through our WIC program and clinics trying to do that early identification and linkage. So it is an honor to be able to continue partnering with you. And to recognize you for all your incredible work that you are doing with the American Heart Association. Do any of my other colleagues have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I will move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy. Councilmember White. Councilmember Bangston.
Thank you, President Harden. For my announcements, I'm going to ask Director Orth to come forward and give us an update on the ongoing cybersecurity incident.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Mask on? Great. Good evening, President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, Chair Bangston, and distinguished members of council. When we spoke to City Council on the cyber attack last fall, we emphasized that cybercrime has evolved into a global industry. In 2023 alone, the United States experienced 3,205 cyber breaches, a staggering 78% increase from the previous year. These breaches affected over 353 million people, setting a new and alarming record. Columbus is not alone in facing this challenge. In 2024, several major cyber attacks targeted U.S. institutions. For example, United Healthcare Group recently confirmed that after 11 months of analysis that its February 2024 cyber attack comprised the data of approximately 190 million individuals. These crimes are often state-sponsored, originating from countries where cybercriminals operate with impunity or even government support. These attackers are not just motivated by financial gain, they're well-funded, highly coordinated, and relentless. As you know all too well, our city was targeted by the Rashida Gang, which has also attacked several other government entities in 2024, including the Port of Seattle, the Carthage, Texas Police Department, and the Rutherford County Schools in Tennessee. In light of this new reality, we're committed to 3 key priorities. First is fortifying our IT infrastructure in a secure manner. As of last Friday, the vast majority of our systems have been remediated, 94%, with just 24 remaining. Supporting our residents by providing resources to protect their personal information. As of today, 22,173 individuals have signed up for Experian Identity Protection Services. And lastly, making long-term strategic investments to strengthen our cybersecurity defenses. We've remained steadfast in these commitments. Meanwhile, our investigation into the cyber attack continues. We're cooperating with law enforcement's investigation. As part of the investigation, our outside legal counsel will need to amend their agreements with the city to authorize them to review Criminal Justice Information Services, or CJIS data, which is on tonight's council agenda as Ordinance 0297-2025. Our ongoing analysis of data includes a review of multiple databases to determine whether they contain PII, PHI, or CJIS data. The city has determined that to complete our investigation, we must obtain state certification to review CJIS data. Our current understanding is that approximately 4 databases may contain CJIS data. These results are subject to change as our investigation continues. Additionally, we have identified a limited amount of protected health information, or PHI, in one database that was involved in the attack. It's our current understanding that PHI for fewer than 1,000 individuals was present in a Division of Fire database affected by the attack. The database contained dispatch and other records. A small number of these records include brief notes indicating emergency medical services were provided at the location of a Division of Fire call. The specific information varied, but generally included first and last names, address, date of birth, date of service, and brief notes on the EMS service provided. It was discovered on December 12, 2024, that the impacted database contained this data that could be considered PHI. The database was then reviewed and analyzed to ascertain the individuals whose PHI was present at the time of the attack. In addition to identifying the records with PHI, a very small number of individuals had Social Security numbers stored within their PHI. There is no evidence that the Division of Fire's encrypted electronic medical record system that separately holds its treatment records was compromised, nor is there evidence that financial account information was involved. The division and city are unaware of any actual or attempted misuse of personal information or PHI for identity theft or fraud. The Division of Fire will be mailing letters to the individuals whose PHI was contained in the impacted database. These individuals already qualify for 2 years of free Experian credit and dark web monitoring services, which includes $1 million in fraud and identity theft protection. They have 90 days from the date of notification to enroll. In addition, the service remains available through March 31st, 2025 for any Columbus resident or individual who shared personal information with the City of Columbus. To sign up, go to columbus.gov/cyber. Service begins upon enrollment. In closing, we appreciate your patience and support as we navigate the complexities of this cyber attack. As we've seen from other cybersecurity investigations, they take a long time to properly complete. And as our investigation continues, we will remain focused on recovering the city's cyber infrastructure in a secure manner. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on the cyber attack this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can address.
Thank you, Director. And I know that my colleagues are eager and have been waiting to ask questions and to discuss the
cybersecurity incident more, but we are constrained by ongoing investigation, as the director just said, and the ongoing civil litigation from having that discussion in an open forum. So later tonight, Council President, I am going to move for us to enter into executive session for myself and our colleagues to be able to have a privileged discussion, a confidential conversation with our attorneys at Voorhees and Dinsmore. So thank you, Director, at this time. And Council President, that's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember. I just have one note that City Council's Black History Celebration will be next Tuesday, February 11th, here in Council Chambers. The doors open at 5:30 and the program starts at 6 p.m. The theme of this year's celebration is African Americans in Labor, and we are thrilled to partner with folks like the Columbus Urban League and the Ohio Department of Development for this event. It's free and open to the public. We encourage folks to come. Also, I want to take a moment for those that may not have seen. Last week, City Council officially appointed Otto Beatty III to fill the open council seat. Councilmember Beatty did have a pre-existing conflict for tonight's meeting, but he will be joining us next week. Are there any comments by our elected officials, City Attorney's Office? Seeing none, are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance or resolution on tonight's agenda, consent portion of tonight's agenda? Hearing none, may we now have a motion to waive the reading of titles of 30-day legislation by the clerk? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Finance and Governance Committee, ordinances 144 and 160-2025. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinances 249, or one ordinance, 249-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 106-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinance 299-2025. Health, Human Services and Equity Committee, ordinance 203-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinance 143-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 84, 130, 156, and 186-2025. Rules and Policy Committee, ordinance 162-2025. Zoning Committee, ordinances 256, 263, 266-2025, and ordinance 2170-2024, and 257, 264, and 265-2025.
Thank you, Clerk. We now, the following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk please now read the ordinances of each into the record?
Finance and Governance Committee, ordinances 72, 117, 118, 179, 181, 182, 189, 202, 229, 233-2025. Economic Development and Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinance 190-2025. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 159-2025. Neighborhoods, Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinances 102 and 103-2025. Workforce, Education and Labor Committee, ordinances 36, 98, 192-2025. Health, Human Services and Equity Committee, ordinance 56-2025. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, ordinances 3574 and 3575-2024, and ordinances 167 and 176-2025. Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, ordinances 81, 82, 83, 89, 107, and 111-2025. Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee, ordinances 30, 68, 74, 113, 183-2025, ordinance 3581-2024, and ordinances 185, 250, 252, 253-2025. Rules and Policy Committee, we have appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0030 and 31-2025.
Thank you, Clerk. May I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent actions? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bangston?
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Ms. De Alcauer? Yes. Ms. Green? Yes. Mr. Remy? Yes. Mr. White? Yes. President Harden,
Yes, with the exception of 0183, on which I abstain.
President Pro Tem Dorans.
Yes. Consent actions are passed with the noted exceptions.
We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance and Governance Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Bankston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First up tonight in the Finance and Governance Committee, we have Resolution 0029X-2025 to declare that the activities and programs for which certain special revenue funds and sub-funds of the city have been terminated per Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.14 and to declare an emergency. This resolution, along with ordinances 3035-2024, 3036-2024, 0342-2025, and 0347-2025, are related to this year's operating budget. As mentioned during Friday's public hearing, this resolution declares which funds and sub-funds no longer serve their original intended purpose and are available for reappropriation. I would like Director Chris Long, our Finance Director, to speak more on the resolution and the dormant funds process. Director?
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Bankston, members of council. This resolution seeks authority to declare the activities and programs associated with certain special revenue funds and sub-funds of the city to be terminated. This subset of funds includes special revenue funds originally established for designated purposes, but for which, given the multi-year lack of revenue and expenditure activity associated with these funds, the activities were likely terminated. The mayor's administration evaluated and investigated this subset of funds and determined that the activities and programs associated with the special revenue funds had, in fact, ceased to be in operation. Therefore, we are asking that council terminate the special revenue funds and transfer any remaining balances in the funds and sub-funds to the city's general operating fund to support 2025 operational activities. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Director. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none. Sorry, comments? No? Okay, sorry. Seeing none, I will move for adoption at this time.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3035-2024 to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31, 2025, for each of the several object classes for which the City of Columbus has to provide from the monies known to be in the treasury of said City of Columbus in the fund known as the General Fund during the said 12 months from the collection of all taxes and from the other sources of revenue, the amount of $1,228,075,000 and to declare an emergency. As mentioned earlier, this ordinance and the next ordinance are part of the city's operating budget for 2025. Statute requires that these two ordinances appear on an agenda following the addition of amendments. So tonight, I will be postponing both of these ordinances to the February 10th council meeting as we take up amendments. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Amended.
And now I move to postpone to the February 10th council meeting.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Postponed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3036-2024 to make appropriations and transfers for the 12 months ending December 31, 2025 for other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I first move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Amended.
And now I move to postpone to the February 10th council meeting.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Amended.
Next, we have ordinance 0297-2025 to authorize the city attorney on behalf of the department, on behalf of the Director of Technology, to enter into a second contract modification and first amendment to the general terms of engagement with Densmore, Voorhees, and Haystack to allow for the incorporation of an FBI CJIS security addendum and to declare an emergency. As part of the ongoing investigation into the city's cyber attack, this ordinance allows the city attorney to modify the Dinsmore, Voorhees, and Haystack contracts to include a necessary leads security addendum, which would in turn allow them to get certified so the data mining work may continue. At this time, I want to ask City Attorney Laura Baker Morris if she could give us some context on this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Chair Bankston. During the course of conducting the city's ongoing investigation into the cyber breach, a question was raised regarding the possibility that data contained within the breach could constitute protected criminal justice information as defined under Ohio law and federal regulations. As a result, and out of an abundance of caution, it was determined that all those who during the course of the investigation may come upon such data for review will need to be certified as a practitioner under state law. This legislation authorized the necessary contract modifications to our outside counsel and cybersecurity expert contracts to allow for this certification process to be initiated. Any questions of members of council? I'd be happy to answer any.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues at this time? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And now, Council President, as provided in Columbus City Charter Section 8 and Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3, I move for council to go into executive session to confer with the attorney for the city concerning disputes involving the city pertaining to the cyber intrusion this past summer that are the subject of pending court action.
Clerk, call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bangston,
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. de Coward, Mr. Dorans, Ms. Green, Mr. Remy, Mr. White, President Harden.
Yes, motion carries. No vote or formal action of any kind shall take place during executive session. Following executive session, council will come back into this regular meeting. Any votes taken on the matter will take place and be recorded as of this meeting. Number 6, we are, have we finished Finance Committee? Can we, can I have a recess? Can we have, is there a motion for recess so we can go to zoning? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
We are in recess. Regular meeting number 7 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading?
So, second?
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Coward, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorans chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking for council on rezonings and variances. We only hear staff presentation of ordinance to have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed to speak against an ordinance. We permit 3 speakers on each side of an ordinance, 3 proponents, 3 opponents. We ask that speakers limit their remarks to 3 minutes per the standard rules of City Council. All speakers in the council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of an area commission are always able to speak on an ordinance who do not need to fill out a speaker slip, but we do ask you alert city staff of your intention to speak at this committee hearing. This evening, we do not have any public speaker slips for our legislation. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we'll now swear in city staff who stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, nothing but the truth that you shall answer in pains of penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Tim Dietrich from the Department of Building and Zoning Services, Christopher Lohr from the Planning Division, and Dan Bleschmidt from the Division of Traffic Management have been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 3573-2024 to rezone 4410 Roberts Road, being 1.16 plus acres located on the north side of Roberts Road, 200 plus feet west of Wilson Road, from C5 Commercial District to C4 Commercial District. This site consists of 1 parcel developed with a commercial structure in the C5 Commercial District. The requested rezoning to C4 Commercial District will allow additional commercial uses at this parcel. The proposal was approved from city staff, the Development Commission. It received a tie vote from the West Scioto Area Commission, which is considered a disapproval. Due to that tie vote, we will first hear from the staff report, starting with the representative from the Department of Building and Zoning Services, Mr. Dietrich. Mr. Dietrich, the floor is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council, the 1.16 acre site consists of one parcel developed with a former car wash facility in the C5 commercial district. The requested C4 commercial district will allow for regional scale commercial development. North of the site are manufacturing facilities in the M manufacturing district. South and west of the site are fuel sales businesses in the CPD commercial plan development district and C4 commercial district. And west of the site is right-of-way for Interstate 270. The site is within the planning boundaries of the Trabue-Roberts Area Plan, which recommends community commercial land uses at this location. The plan also includes early adoption of C2P2 planning policy design guidelines. The site is located within the boundaries of the West Scioto Area Commission, whose recommendation is for disapproval. The requested C4 commercial district will allow regional scale commercial uses. The requested C4 district is consistent with both the Trabue-Roberts Area Plan land use recommendation and the existing development and zoning pattern along this section of Roberts Road, and therefore city departments recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, we will next move to Mr. Daniel Blushman from Traffic Management. Dan, floor is yours.
President Harden, Chair Dorans, members of council. The Division of Traffic Management has reviewed this application, does not have any significant concerns related to access or off-site traffic impacts in consideration of the small size of this site and the fact that this site is accessed from a local roadway. Final review and approval of the access configuration and the site layout will occur in conjunction with the final site compliance plan review process. With these comments noted, the Department of Public Service has no further concerns with this application.
Thank you, Mr. Blushman. Any questions, colleagues? Seeing none, we'll move to Mr. Christopher Lohr. Mr. Lohr?
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Dorans, and members of council. The Planning Division is in full support of this application. The Trabue-Roberts Area Plan recommends this location for community commercial. Staff worked with the applicant to detail landscaping, sidewalks, and building elevations, which have been reviewed by staff and have been found to be consistent with Columbus citywide planning policies, design guidelines. As such, staff is in full support, and I can answer any questions if you have them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lohr. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I will invite both the applicant and the representative, so Mr. Scott Everett and Attorney Catherine Cunningham, to the podium for any remarks they'd like to make on this rezoning request. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you very much, members of council. I'm Attorney Catherine Cunningham with the law firm of Kegler, Brown, Hill & Ritter, and we are here to request council support. We have worked hard with staff in this and gone through preliminary site compliance and review and have received approvals from everyone. We did have a tie vote at the area commission. The zoning committee, however, was 6 in favor and 1 opposed. The commission was a tie vote for 3-3. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Scott Everett is here on behalf of the applicant as an applicant representative, and we're here happy to answer any questions and request for an approval.
Any questions, colleagues, for the applicant or representative this time? Seeing none, thank you both.
Thank you.
Again, want to thank everyone who's testified on behalf of this legislation tonight. Also want to acknowledge the zoning chair from the West Scioto Area Commission, Ms. Rita Cabral, is here with us. And as you heard, the zoning committee from this area commission did approve the project. Again, it is considered a disapproval if there's a tie at the larger area commission vote. From the city staff review of this project, it appears from my vantage point, again, we're still moving from one commercial district to another. It's more of a use question here, and I don't see any issues with moving this legislation forward. So with that, unless my colleagues have any questions or comments, and seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3577-2024 to rezone 3451 Treby Road, being 11.2 plus acres located in the southwest corner of Treby Road and McKinley Avenue from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to AR1 Apartment Residential District. At the request of the applicant, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Refer back to committee.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 0163-2025 to rezone 1895 Jetway Boulevard, being 7.98 plus acres located on the west side of Jetway Boulevard, 1,500 plus feet north of Old Country Lane from LM Limited Manufacturing District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. Site consists of 2 undeveloped parcels, with a part of the site being subject to the I-670 graphics control overlay. The applicant is requesting the rezoning at this location to update commitments regarding building materials, setback line buffering, and pertaining to the western property line. The proposal is approved from City Staff, Development Commission, and the Northeast Area Commission. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 0193-2025 to rezone 2280 October Ridge Drive, being 1.1 plus acres located on the east side of October Ridge Road, 225 plus feet south of Harrisburg Pike from R1 Residential District to ARLD Apartment Residential District. Site consists of 1 undeveloped parcel, with the applicant requesting a rezoning to allow for a multi-unit residential development with a maximum density of 17.4 dwelling units per acre. Proposal has approvals from City Staff, Development Commission, and the Southwest Area Commission. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we move into the council variances portion of our agenda. First, we have ordinance 3578-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.18, building line 3333.255 per yard of the Columbus City Codes to the property located at 3451 Treby Road to allow reduced development standards for the apartment complex in the AR1 Apartment Residential District. Once again, at the request of the applicant, I move to refer this ordinance back to committee.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Refer back to committee.
Thank you. Next, I have an ordinance 0123-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District 3312.49 required parking of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1218 East 19th Avenue to allow a Type A childcare facility with reduced parking in the R3 Residential District. Site consists of 1 parcel developed with a single unit dwelling, and the requested council variance will allow the existing dwelling to be used as a Type A childcare facility. A council variance is required because the current zoning district does not allow a Type A family childcare home. A variance to maintain reduced required parking from 4 spaces to 0 spaces is also included in this request. Proposal has approval from City Staff and the South Linden Area Commission. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, we have ordinance 0199-2025 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.38H, private garages, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.38G, private garages of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 192 Thurman Avenue to allow habitable space above attached garage with reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. Site consists of 1 parcel developed with a single unit dwelling, and requested council variance will allow a habitable space above a newly constructed detached garage. The variance is necessary because the zoning code only permits habitable space above a garage when connected directly to habitable space in a dwelling. The request includes variances to reduce the side yards of the existing dwelling to increase the garage height. Staff notes the final design is subject to the certificate of appropriateness from the German Village Commission. The proposal is approved from City Staff and the German Village Commission. Do my colleagues have questions or comments? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, De Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have in tonight's zoning agenda.
See no further business come for the zoning committee. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We'll reconvene meeting number 6 in 1 second.
White, President Harden.
We are meeting number 6. We are in the Finance Committee. Councilmember Bankston, chair that committee. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden, and thank you all for your patience while we were in executive sessions. My colleagues and I had a discussion with our deputy city attorney and outside counsel. I want to acknowledge that it is frustrating because of litigation that we aren't at a point yet where we can have these conversations in public. But I do want the public to know the council is engaged in its oversight and accountability role, and we will continue to do that throughout this process. With that, Council President, I will move on to the next piece of legislation in the Finance and Governance Committee. We have Ordinance 0342-2025 to authorize the city auditor to make an accounting adjustment to PO 479487 with the Franklin County Educational Services Center of Central Ohio by reducing the funding amount by $6,284,070 and to declare an emergency. This ordinance restructures an existing agreement regarding our previously approved $15 million digital equity initiative to allow dollars in the final year of the contract to be reappropriated for pressing operating needs this year. In partnership with the administration, we plan to add dollars back to the contract to complete the work of this initiative in the future operating budgets. To be clear that we are very much still committed to the digital divide and making that investment, and we'll backfill this contract. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
And lastly, we have Ordinance 0347-2025 to authorize the auditor to establish transfer appropriations within certain special revenue funds, to authorize the auditor to transfer cash between certain special revenue funds and the general fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance allows the auditor to move and reappropriate the formerly dormant funds identified in Resolution 0029X-2025 for operating budget needs this year. Seeing no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. So we have in the Finance and Governance Committee this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have two ordinances tonight in public service and transportation. The first is Ordinance 0150-2025 to appropriate funds within the Federal Transportation Grants Fund to authorize the City Attorney's Office Real Estate Division to contract professional services related to the acquisition of fee simple title and lesser interest in and to property needed for the arterial State Route 160. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, I went out of order. Clerk? Okay, so sorry. But I caught it real early. Okay, I'm gonna keep going and then go back. Yes, clerk, that's cool? Thank you. All right, State Route 161, I-71 to Cleveland Avenue Phase 2 project to authorize the City Attorney's Office Real Estate Division to negotiate with property owners to acquire the additional rights of way necessary to complete this project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,100,000 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund and the Federal Transportation Grants Fund for the project, to repay any unused grant funds at the end of the grant period, and to declare an emergency. Phase 2 of the 161 I-71 to Cleveland Avenue project includes the reconstruction of Tamarack Boulevard, Sharon Woods Boulevard, and Beechcroft Road with the installation of a concrete median and mini roundabout. This project will include upgrading the signal at 161, new curb and gutters, sidewalk lighting, constructing a shared use path on both sides of 161 between Ann's Side Ambleside Drive and Maple Canyon Avenue, and drainage and stormwater improvements. This ordinance authorizes the cost to acquire the public right-of-way. The Department of Public Service is currently finalizing construction plans and is prepared to authorize right-of-way acquisition pending passage of this legislation. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Okay, back in order, and there's actually 3 ordinances. Next one, 0141-2025, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Service to enter into an agreement with the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation Incorporated, doing business as Downtown Columbus Incorporated, for the Capital Line Project to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Codes and to declare an emergency. The Capital Line Project is the construction of a 2-mile pathway along Gay, 4th, and Rich Streets and across the Broad and Town Street bridges to the Scioto Peninsula. This pathway, exclusive to bike and pedestrian traffic, offers an intentional route to city attractions, connecting amenities, green spaces, job centers, and residential neighborhoods while catalyzing new economic investment along the path. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bangston? Yes. Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Ms. de Alcauer? Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Green? Mr. Remy? Mr. White? President Harden.
Yes, ordinance passed.
Thank you. And our last ordinance this evening is 0197-2025, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into contract with Vasila Incorporated to purchase mobile road weather information sensors to monitor weather and to aid in decision-making during snow and ice events, to authorize the waiver of the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, to authorize the appropriation of $100,000 in the Federal Transportation Grants Fund related to this purchase, to authorize the expenditure of up to $100,000 from the Federal Transportation Grants Fund and up to $25,000 from the Municipal Motor Vehicle Tax Fund, contingent on the passing of 0055-2025, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the purchase of mobile road weather information sensors. These sensors will be used on snow and ice equipment to monitor weather and to aid in decision-making during snow and ice events. These sensors take different types of readings, including the level of friction and grip in real time during snow and ice events. This provides critical data to allow better decisions on salt material usage, plowing effectiveness, roadway safety, and speed recovery. This information can be used to save time and material costs, redirecting resources to where they are needed most. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
That's all for me this evening, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee coming before council is the Workforce Education Labor Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Dorans and Elliott. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President, and I appreciate my colleagues' indulgence tonight. My amazing wife's a little under the weather, so I got a little help with my votes tonight. So first, in Workforce Education Labor Committee, we have ordinance 0038-2025 to authorize the Director of Human Resources to enter a contract with Cancer Link LLC, doing business as Cancer Bridge for cancer advocacy services for the term March 1st, 2025 through February 28th, 2026, to authorize appropriation of $104,000 from the unappropriated balance of the Employee Benefits Fund to waive competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to authorize the expenditure of $104,000 or so much thereof to be necessary to pay the cost of said contract. This ordinance request is an extension to the Cancer Bridge contract, as the Department of Human Resources has completed all available renewals. This contract is effective from March 1st of 2025 through February 28th of 2026. As the Healthcare Administration RFP was canceled in 2024, Department of Human Resources is asking to extend the contract as they were able to use the results of the RFP, determined they needed to continue to outsource this cancer advocacy services. Well, we're almost done. The ordinance authorized the appropriation of contract to the Expenditure Authority and established a maximum obligation liability of $104,000 to be paid from the Employee Benefit Fund. He's very excited. He can see himself on television right now. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
And Council President, all I have my committees tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee coming for council is the Health and Human Services Committee and Equity Committee, chaired by Councilmember Green. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Council President. Tonight in our Health, Human Services and Equity Committee, we have 3 ordinances on second reading. The first is Ordinance 0028-2025 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish purchase orders with Sanofi Pasteur, Inc., Pfizer, Inc., and Moderna US, Inc. for the purchase of vaccinations for the Board of Health, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $200,000 from the Health Special Revenue Fund. Columbus Public Health administers, on average, 25,000 to 30,000 vaccinations yearly, while the Ohio Department of Health provides free vaccines for children and uninsured adults. People with health insurance coverage need to be covered by privately purchased vaccines. On average, CPH administers about 10,000 doses of privately purchased vaccines every year, which is what this appropriation will provide for. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The second ordinance we have is Ordinance 3515-2024 to authorize and direct the Finance and Management Director to purchase a van and all necessary accessories to be used by Columbus Public Health's LED program, to waive the competitive bidding process as outlined in Columbus City Code, to authorize an expenditure from the General Government Grants Fund to pay the cost thereof, and to declare an emergency. Columbus Public Health will strategically use a van that is going to be purchased through these funds as a mobile unit to provide blood lead screenings for children under age 6 and provide general lead poisoning prevention outreach to our residents. The mobile unit will allow us to provide these services in high-risk zip codes and areas of Columbus where families have access to care challenges. Emergency action is requested due to the instability of the automobile supply chain and to ensure all purchases are completed within the grant period. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, we have Ordinance 0043-2025 to authorize the Board of Health to enter into initial contracts with the following qualified vendors: AIDS Healthcare Foundation, Equitas Health, Heart of Ohio Family Health Centers, the Research Institute at Nationwide Children's Hospital, and the Ohio State University Physicians, Inc., to authorize the Board of Health to modify those contracts if portions of previously appropriated and encumbered funds are unused, and to reallocate unused funds amongst the initial vendors without the need for additional legislation for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program for the provision of services allowable under the grant for persons with HIV or AIDS in Central Ohio, to authorize the expenditure of up to $3,622,766.34 from the Health Department grants funds to pay the cost thereof, to waive the applicable provisions of Columbus City Codes, and to declare an emergency. Columbus Public Health receives funding for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Service Administration, or HRSA. The purpose of this grant is to improve access to quality medical care for persons with HIV or AIDS living in Central Ohio. That includes not just Franklin County, but also Licking, Delaware, Morrow, Unison, Madison, Pickaway, and Fairfield counties. The contract period is from March 1st, 2025 through February 28th of 2026. This ordinance is submitted as an emergency in order to ensure the quality medical care continues to be available for eligible persons living with HIV or AIDS, and to ensure timely payments to providers. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you so much. That's all for me tonight, Council President.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee coming for council is the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. Tonight I have 3 ordinances in public safety and criminal justice. The first 2 are 2 liquor objection withdrawals from the City Attorney's Office. Nuisance abatement agreements between these parties were reached in lieu of pursuing the outstanding objections, and the city reserves the right to object to their liquor licenses in the future or bring the establishments into Franklin County Environmental Court should they not comply. These nuisance abatements include requirements for security uplifts, cameras, lighting, hours of operations, employee training, and specific prohibitions on activity at the establishments. The Division of Liquor Control requested that the city, therefore, withdraw these objections via resolution. The first resolution is 25X-2025 to withdraw the objection to the renewal of liquor permit number 65215090505 held by Ohio Springs, Inc., doing business as Sheets 724, located at 275 East Dublin Granville Road, Columbus, Ohio 43229, and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Adopted.
Next is Resolution 26X, 2025, to withdraw the objection to the renewal of liquor permit number 652-1509-0635 held by Ohio Springs, Inc., doing business as Sheets 722, located at 3999 South Hamilton Road, Groveport, Ohio 43125, and to declare an emergency. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
And finally, I have ordinance number 158, 2025, to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget to appropriate and transfer funds within the General Permanent Improvement Fund, to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into contracts with Continental Flooring Company, King Business Interiors, Inc., and E2 Optics, LLC, for the Police Records Office project, to waive the competitive bidding project requirements of Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $90,000 from the General Permanent Improvement Fund for this project, and to declare an emergency. Continental Flooring Company will provide removal and disposal of existing carpet along with site preparation, furniture moving, and installation services related to the new flooring. King Business Interiors will provide modular furniture, seating, shelving, and related components for the office space. E2 Optics will provide network drops for the workspace. The purpose of this project is to move all of the members of the Division of Police Public Records section to the same floor in order to increase efficiency in responding to public records requests and maximize the use of office space at police headquarters. Director Pashadi, can you speak to the waiver of competitive bidding, please?
Council President Harden, Councilmember Remy, members of council, there are essentially three bid waivers in this ordinance. Continental Flooring Company provided pricing as a part of the National Intergovernmental Purchasing Alliance. This cooperative purchasing program leverages buying power of public sector entities to secure better pricing and contract terms from suppliers. King Business Interiors, Inc. holds a state term contract for furniture, and E2 Optics LLC is a vendor that the Department of Technology currently works with for network drops and related services for projects throughout the city. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Director. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
That is all I have on public safety and criminal justice this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities and Sustainability Committee, chaired by Councilmember Weiss. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, I have ordinance 0069-2025 to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fee simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the Scioto Main North Large Diameter Sewer Rehabilitation Project, to authorize an expenditure of $300. This ordinance is necessary to make sure that our city's sanitation is up to the highest standards by maintaining efficiency on the timeline of the Scioto Main North Large Diameter Sewer Rehabilitation Project. The city must acquire the certain fee simple title and lesser real estate located in the vicinity of West Riverside Drive near Martin Road, West Riverside Drive at Quarry Lane, West Riverside Drive between Quarry Lane and Courtyard Lane, Riverside Drive and Lane Road, and I-71 and Frank Road, collectively real estate, in order for DPU to timely complete the project, public project, and make, improve, or repair certain portions of the public sewer infrastructure located in the vicinity. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcauer, Dorance Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 3311-2024 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a contract modification to add funding for the Professional Construction Management 2023 project with Hill International, to authorize an amendment to the 2024 capital improvement budget, to authorize a transfer of cash and appropriation between projects within the Water Bond Fund, and to authorize an expenditure of up to $4,147,800 from the Water Bond Fund for the contract modification. This contract will assist the city with managing a capital improvement program consisting of multiple capital improvement projects to ensure completion in accordance with design requirements and city needs, while serving as a liaison between the construction contractor, design professional, and city personnel. Work performed to date under the initial contract funding includes program management services, design phase construction management services, and construction administration, construction inspection services for multiple capital improvement projects. Future phases will include modifications of this contract until the last assigned construction contract is completed. Let me pause there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Day, Coward, Dorans, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 119-2025 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to establish a purchase order to make payments to Delaware County for sewer services provided during fiscal year 2025 and to authorize the expenditure of $4,400,000 from the Sanitary Sewer Operating Fund. This ordinance is necessary to enact just compensation for the work that Delaware County will complete during fiscal year 2025 to serve Columbus residents living outside of Franklin County. The spending is to continue the 1991 agreement for efficient practices between the city and county that permits discharge of sewage from Delaware County into the sewer system of the city of Columbus and from the city of Columbus sewer system into Delaware County sewer system in order to avoid duplication of wastewater treatment. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Day, Coward, Dorans, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And last, I have ordinance 121-2025 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate current and pending universal term contract purchase agreements for the purchase of sewer treatment chemicals for the Division of Sewerage and Drainage, to authorize expenditure of $5,250,000 from the Sewerage Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance seeks to ensure that various chemicals necessary for sanitation of sewerage and drainage are acquired in time to maintain operations. An emergency is requested due to the time-sensitive nature of the order and to avoid public health issues and delays in operations. Let me stop there, see if any questions or comments from my colleagues. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Day, Coward, Dorans, Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have for my committee this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have the final committee, Housing, Homelessness, and Building Committee. First up, I have ordinance 0129-2025 is to amend the 2024 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds within the Affordable Housing Bond Fund, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Volunteers of America, Ohio, and Indiana in an amount up to $500,000 to assist in the construction of the Family Focused Recovery Program treatment facility, to authorize the expenditure of up to $500,000 from the Affordable Housing Bond Fund, and to authorize the reimbursement of construction expenditures incurred prior to the establishment of a purchase order beginning January 1st, 2024. This legislation fills the final funding gap for the Volunteers of America to construct their new family-focused recovery program treatment facility here in Columbus. Right now, many recovery programs do not allow or make it difficult for families who want or need to stay together during treatment. This presents a barrier to individuals who want to seek treatment and separates families. This new facility is designed for a family-centric approach to keep families together while providing recovery treatment. This includes living spaces that are designed for families and opportunities for community building and family engagement. Specifically, Volunteers of America has partnered with Celebrate One to make sure that this space is inclusive and is accessible for groups that have historically not had equal access to these resources, particularly Black women. This facility is going to fill a critical gap in our recovery treatment system, and I'm really excited that this project is finally underway. We have someone here, the Vice President of Behavioral Health at Operations at Volunteer of America, Jennifer Martinez, is here. Jennifer, if you come forward. We specifically pulled this legislation to talk about it. When we talk about gaps in the needs of our community, this really fills that gap, keeping families together, specifically women with their children, as they seek the help that they need to get back on their feet. This is an amazing project. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I am Jennifer Martinez, Vice President of Behavioral Health Operations for Volunteers of America, Ohio and Indiana. I am here before you today in support of this ordinance. Those of you who might be familiar with VOA, we are a member of we're an affiliate of a national organization, faith-based, non-for-profit, really focused on helping people rebuild their lives and reach their full potential. Support for this ordinance will be used to finalize construction on VOA's Fresh Start Recovery Center, which, as mentioned, is designed as a residential treatment facility for women and their children. What makes our facility unique compared to other facilities in this community is we do not limit the age or the number of children that a mother can bring into treatment with her. We are heavily focused on a health equity lens, having done work with the Niatech Corporation out of the University of Wisconsin, and done a co-collaboration process with members of our community, including other stakeholders, and women of color who have been through treatment themselves, either while pregnant or with small children with them. The program is really accessible to any birthing person in Central Ohio. That includes transgender individuals, so we are making every effort to be as inclusive as possible and lower barriers to getting individuals into treatment. Some of the high impact or high-level impact areas that we're looking for are reduction of the number of infants born addicted to substances, reduction and duration, shortened duration of NICU stays, reduction in the number of children being placed in either foster care or kinship care, and improved birth outcomes for the residents of our community. We operate 4 of these facilities in Indiana already, and this will be our first in Ohio. Having worked in this community for 20 years, I'm very excited to be able to bring this to Central Ohio. So we are grateful for the support, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for me this evening.
Just again, thank you so much, and also thank you to other folks. I know this is a community effort that put money into this so that we could get here, and the city really excited to be that final.
Yes.
Are there any comments from my colleagues?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're very
Congratulations. Thank you
welcome.
for serving this need in our community.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to move for passage. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed. The last ordinance that we have is ordinance 0171-2025 is to authorize the Director of Development to renew contracts with various contractors for the maintenance of properties maintained by the Division of Land Redevelopment, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,075,000 from the Land Management Fund and to declare an emergency. This legislation just renews some contracts with the Land Bank for the maintenance of properties such as mowing and trash services. There were 13 contractors selected by an evaluation committee with 19 RFQ applications who the department will be moving forward with. I'd like to move for passage. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Passed. Seeing no further business coming for council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, de Alcala, Dorans Green, Remy White, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned.